everybody, I'm Delicia. Thanks for tuning into the Cigar Vixen channel. So today I'm going to be smoking the Micallef Experiencia Prominente, which I kind of am embarrassed to admit that I didn't realize that there were two different blends in the Experiencia. That's like a go-to cigar for me, and I've had a box of the La Cremas, which I've smoked through, because like I said, it's a go-to smoke for me. And then I opened up another box thinking, oh, okay, this is just a different size. And I lit one up the other day and I was like, oh, this tastes different. So then I was like looking into it more and I'm like, oh, well, that's because it's a different blend. So I figured, well, hey, let me share that with the rest of you in case you have had that happen, or maybe you're just wondering, like, is this two different sizes or what's the deal here? So it's more than just a different size. It's actually a different blend. This particular one, it is a different size as well. This one is a 5.5 by 58, so it's a little bit larger on the ring gauge, and I have had quite a few requests from people asking me to do reviews of the larger ring gauges, and those of you who know me, you guys know that I kind of avoid those because I like the smaller ring gauges. So on that respect, I actually prefer the La Crema version because it has a 52 ring gauge versus the 58, but you know, once in a while it's nice to change things up. So this one is a larger ring gauge, almost a 60. And it does feature a Nicaraguan habano wrapper, a San Andres habano binder, and a Nicaraguan, Dominican, and Panamanian filler. So the filler is, I want to say the same mix as the La Crema. What's different is the wrapper and the binder. The La Crema has an Ecuadorian habano binder, I believe, and then a Sumatra wrapper from San Andres. So that one right away tells me, like, just looking at the blend, and then obviously because I smoked it a lot, it has a creamier, kind of a sweeter profile to it. This one is going to be more true to that typical habano type of flavoring. So we'll get into that one, but I just wanted to kind of point out those differences for the rest of you, because as I mentioned, I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm supposed to know these things, but every once in a while I don't pay attention, and then I kind of learn something new. So getting right into it, I'm going with my old trusty Colibri guillotine cutter. I always get questions about like what cutters, lighters, ashtrays, all those things that I'm using, and I always forget to mention it in the video, so I'm going to try and do a better job. This one I've had for close to 1,000,000 years. It's like I said, old trusty Colibri. It's just a single guillotine cutter, but I love it. I love it because it's orange, for one. That's like my favorite color, but because it works every time, and I have a few of them laying around. And then today I'm going to go super fancy, and I'm going to use matches just to change it up, because I always use a lighter. Ooh, these matches are a little crazy here. Let's see. Can never tell. Matches have a mind of their own. And when I do use matches, I try to always use two, because that's a little trick that I learned. There was a competition actually during Pro Cigar. I didn't participate in it because I was somewhere else, but it was like you got one match to light your cigar, and it was who could keep their cigar lit the longest or something to that nature. But one of my friends was telling me, like, oh my gosh, I almost couldn't get mine lit because they only gave me one match, and it went out. It started to go out, but she figured it out. But yeah, that one doesn't want to go out. So the trick with the matches, of course, you just, in case you're not a match user, you just let it burn for a second to get that little sulfur off the edge, off the end of it, and then let it catch on the wood, and then light it that way. And this feels funny. I'm not used to smoking the larger ring gauges. It just feels like, it feels huge. So good flavor right away, as I mentioned. I kind of did like a spoiler alert. It's going to have more of the true habano flavor characteristics, which to me means, very cedar, very spice, a little bit of earth, not a lot of sweetness to it. On the flip side to the other version of the La Crema, as I mentioned, that has more of that somewhat underlying sweetness, not super sweet. It's not a like a heavily sweetened cigar. It just has those little notes in there. This one, you just pick up a nice little spiciness. What I will say about the blend, as with I think all of the Micallef cigars, all of the tobacco before it's even rolled has been aged for a minimum of 4 years, and then once they actually roll it, it sits for, I believe it's a whole nother year before it actually gets distributed out anywhere. So before it comes to you, it's been properly aged. And it's another thing I'll point out, and you can really taste it in this one. Is it goes through a triple fermentation process. So what happens, I'm kind of addressing some different questions that I've gathered over some of the comments recently, and one of the questions that I see, you know, pop in and out of there is, you know, why does my cigar taste bitter? Or, you know, just kind of like something along those lines of it, like, why is it tasting bitter, or why does it have like a pungency to it? And a lot of times it's, well, some of it could be just the tobacco, could be not as great quality tobacco that a person is using, but a lot of times it's the fermentation process. And so when it has been properly fermented, and in this case, you know, triple fermentation, the end result is it should be a smoothness to it. It shouldn't be a bite. Like, this has spice to it. In fact, you pick up black pepper, but it's not a slap you in the face type of spice. It's a subtle, like, seasoning, like on your food. You know, you wouldn't dump a whole tub of pepper onto your whatever you're cooking. You would sprinkle it. You would kind of make a little bit of notation that there's pepper in it, but it wouldn't be like a pepper bomb. Same thing with your cigar. Versus, you know, some tobacco has a more of a spice to it naturally, but again, when you ferment it, it kind of calms it down to where by the time it comes to you, if it's been properly aged, properly fermented, all of those things, it should have those flavor characteristics in it and have a spice to it, but it shouldn't like be super pungent or so much that it's annoying you or anything bad. You know, it shouldn't be a negative thing. It should be a very positive experience. So that's one of the things that I wanted to bring up when I lit this one, not knowing that it was a different blend right off the bat. I was like, oh, this is, you know, different, but I was like, oh, this is good. It's spicy, but it's like a subtle spice. So it's really nice. But again, personally, not a huge fan of the larger 58 ring gauge. Definitely liking the 52. So that would be, at this moment, you know, as far as the flavors are great. Just me personally, I feel uncomfortable smoking like those super large ring gauges, which to me a 58 is pretty large. But again, there's a handful of you out there that have made those comments, that have asked for like, hey, stop doing Lancero reviews. Can you please recommend some larger ring gauges? Here's a larger ring gauge for those of you who have asked for it. Again, nice size, 5.5 by 58, and great flavor. I feel like I'm rambling on this review. Sorry guys, I'm just kind of, all these things are coming to mind. But getting back to this particular stick, flavors are nice, subtle spice to it, a little bit of that earthiness. You do pick up a nice cedar in the background, so really nice, just subtle flavors, nothing again that's too sharp. Everything is smooth and well blended together. And right now it's about a lighter side of medium, I would say. It's probably, I know it'll get to, you know, a nice strong medium, but right now it's like at that, not quite mild, but about, like I said, lighter side of medium. So very nice start. I'm gonna go ahead and shut up for a minute and keep smoking and get back to you for the second third. So getting right about to the halfway point. In fact, I'm gonna take off the band. On the Experiencia Prominente, a lot of anise that I'm picking up right now. So anise, a little bit of like a spearminty, kind of a pine wood, and also just like that underlying spicy, not so much a black pepper spice, kind of like a cooking spice, like a mixture of spices. That's a little bit along the lines of where it's at right about now. There's still a hint of just a subtle earthiness, but this is definitely a good pairing if you're somebody who's a Scotch or whiskey drinker. And particularly, I could see putting this with a rye. I think it would really bring out the notes and complement each other. I pair things with rum pretty much always. If not rum, then wine. Usually I'm a red wine drinker. So for me, again, I keep referring back to the La Crema. That one, to me, paired a little bit better with the wines if you're a wine drinker. And I think rum kind of goes with everything, but more so I think a little bit when the cigar has more of a sweetness to it. This one, again, not as sweet, so would be great with more of those barrel-y type of, woodsy background of drinks. Like, again, a nice scotch, a nice peaty scotch, even a rye whiskey you could do, would bring out different characteristics and different notes, but it'd be a great pairing. So if you're looking for, your next pairing, that would be something to try out. But that's where we're at right about now. Burn line's pretty consistent, has a very nice open draw to it. I'm gonna go ahead and keep smoking it down a little bit more and check back in with you guys one last time to report on any new flavors that come in. So coming in on the final third, still have a little bit left, on the Micallef Experiencia Prominente. Flavors right now have shifted again. Definitely has a woodsy profile to it, now along the lines of a mixture of a cedar and kind of an oaky notation to it. Still some spice. I would classify it as like a wood spice, like not necessarily the pepper, but just, again, that subtle spiciness that's kind of been underlying throughout. Not a lot of sweetness. So, for me, I would say I liked it. I didn't love it. I loved the La Crema. So I've said it now, I've killed it in the video. I've said it multiple times that I prefer that one over this one. But my question is, for those of you out there that have smoked both, which one did you prefer? Do you like the larger ring gauge? Did you like this one being more along that woodsy, spicy kind of a stick? Or did you like the La Crema that had a little bit more of a creamier, sweeter profile? It's all personal preference. So I'm always curious to hear back from, those of you who are watching. And again, this one would be great if you're that whiskey fan, that Scotch drinker. I think this would be right up your alley. So definitely, again, looking for that feedback from all of you that are watching. Always love the comments, keep them coming. And as always, I thank you so much for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you next time. Cheers.